Hi, and welcome to the We Want Women podcast in association with Big Condo Radio. We have some really exciting things on for today's show. So we have an amazing woman called Edwina Lee, who we're going to introduce you to in a second. So We Want Women is all about empowering women in the performing arts. We want to make sure women's voices are heard. We want to create opportunities and also a sistership as well. To be able to support women in the performing arts as much as possible. So my name's Nick Cardman and I'm here today with Kyan.
Hello.
Hi. And we have the fantastic Edwina Lee in today. Hi, Edwina.
Hello, that's quite an introduction, that. Wow. A lot to live up to there.
How are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I don't know, I've told you about my very stiff neck I've got at the moment. So that's why I'm moving like a sort of robot at the moment.
Yeah, you're injured.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in anyway.
No worries.
So you are an actor.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what that's like.
Well, at the moment, not much is going on, but well, I suppose we'll get on to that. But that, yeah, it's all right. It's good. I mainly do a lot of theatre. I've done a few films, indie films.
Nice.
I've had one television role.
Ooh.
So when I'm in the taxi and they're like, "Oh, so what are you being?" And you're like, "Oh, right, I'll just say that one random, small, tiny part," and they're like impressed by that.
What was it that you were in?
It's like the most unimpressive thing. I was just a nurse in Emmerdale, but like I've done
That's still a big part, to be fair.
I've done so many things I'm like proud of in the theatre, like what I've worked with, like young people. I did a job working with prostitutes and stuff. And that's so much more fulfilling. But everyone, I have to go to the Emmerdale one because that just sounds sexier, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know about sexier, but it's definitely something that more people know, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah. Like, oh my God, yeah. But so mainly stage, but also like with acting, I don't purely make my money from acting. I wouldn't be able to live. So I also teach as well. I do a lot of freelance teaching. I work for LIPA in their widening participation program. So I go out to schools, colleges and teach acting. I feel like I do all sorts, and I've been in care homes and done movement workshops.
That's a lot of stuff that you've done over the time. I mean,
you just have to make the dollar, don't you?
How old are you? You know, like that sounds like 3 lifetimes worth of stuff.
I'm quite old. I've got grey hairs now. Yeah. And that's why I did this injury through sleep. So that just tells you my age.
That's just annoying, isn't it? Like, it's just, you know.
Happens to me all the time.
Too old. Yeah, so acting, it's good. It's good fun. And obviously it's you have your pitfalls up and down, but when you get the job, it's amazing. But sometimes the downtime can be quite hard when you're searching for something. That's why I stopped my own theatre company. So I'm going off on a tangent here.
No,
rein me in.
We were going to ask you about that. So it's called Tidal Town, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell us about Tidal Town.
Well, I kind of started. It took me ages to come up with the name. Finally did.
It is a cute name.
It is.
I really like it.
And so where did we start? We started in 2018, and I made dementia awareness video. That was like the first thing that we did about Lewy body dementia for the Lewy body dementia society.
That's great.
And then we did our first production last year, The Crocodile. And that started with me going into schools running a script club. And it was completely it was like totally I was just doing a separate job working for another company, and I'd chosen the play The Crocodile because it was quite a fun play. There was swearing in it, and kids love swearing.
Yeah,
obviously.
High school children, I should say, not kids, because that would be a bit wrong for me to bring a play in like that. And I joked to them, I said, "Oh, I could put this on, you guys could come and see it." And the kids were like, yeah, we'd like that. And then the company I was working for was like, yeah, we'll pay for the students to come and see it. So then that just started the ball rolling, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm putting this play on, and all the students came to see it, and it was open to the public. We only did 3 shows, and but it was almost a sellout run, apart from one night we had a few seats left. And we're hoping to do another project, The Beetle, adapting a Gothic novel next June. It was supposed to happen this September in the Playhouse studio, but obviously...
Yeah, that's so upsetting.
It didn't happen.
There's a theme running there, so that sounds amazing, that what you're doing. So like the crocodile, the beetle.
Yeah. I know.
What's the theme?
They're all animals.
They are.
I know, I will come up with a reason for that, but it just happened.
That's not on purpose.
No, not at all,
Oh
I know.
my God.
The beetle was because it's been out of print, and Waterstone's my boyfriend, Bloss, who also helps me with the theatre company. He found it and was like, "Oh, this sounds interesting," and it outsold Dracula back in its day.
Wow.
It's just unheard of, but it is bonkers. It is totally bonkers.
Get out there.
Yeah, but it's
Best way.
quite. There's a lot of like it talks about immigration and also what's it called? The Labouchier Act. We're bringing that in, and that was where I'm getting political at this. My boyfriend's done all this research. He's the one that knows all about it. So
But we're talking to you.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I should. So we're bringing that all into because it's relevant for today.
Yeah.
A lot of the topics. So I'm producing that, and we're going to co-write it. We started writing it together, and that should be happening next year.
That is amazing.
That's great.
So,
Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. So fingers crossed it will be happening.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
hope it does. I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
You know, give it
So
time.
how has it been for you as a woman in the performing arts, being an actress? Do you find that you come across a lot of issues, being female in the performing arts, or
Not necessarily, but I think possibly I'm a bit sort of maybe naive to it. I don't realise that maybe I've been treated differently. I wouldn't necessarily as a female. I mean, obviously there's less female parts. That's changing. There was one thing that springs to mind now you've said it. When I was training, I always remember our TV tutor saying, and we were having a coffee afterwards and chatting, and she said, the thing is, and she was asking us how we're going to make money because we were all starry-eyed.
How are you going to make money? That's a question, isn't it?
Yeah. We were like, well, we're just going to be actors, aren't we? We're just going to go to the West End, to Hollywood. And
At
she
least
was like,
our tutors said to us, you know, you're probably not going to make a lot of money.
yeah,
yeah. So she was like, well, how are you going to make money? And then she said, well, you know, as an actress, your career's over at 35.
Wow.
Wow.
And my friend was sitting there who was turning 35 the next day, who was on the course. And I just remember thinking, wow. And I don't think that's the case anymore because, spoiler, I am 35. So I'm hoping my career is not over.
I wouldn't say it is.
But, oh, thank you.
Of
I
course.
think there's older roles now, but I remember maybe it's got better. I think maybe that was the case because she was an older woman that used to be an actress and is now a director, and possibly back in the day that was the case.
It's an interesting topic because, you know, We Want Women are doing at the minute a collab with a company called Co-Fuddle, and we're talking about mental health and some of the things that are important and the impacts on female performers on the mental health side. And when we did a survey, we actually found that, well, the biggest one was body image, which is the episode that we have right now. But also just in the group on Facebook, we've been chatting about age roles, and actually there's a lot of older women who do feel now like there still isn't enough roles for older women in theatre. But I mean, you know, I think it's a difficult one, definitely, because the statistics are terrible when you look at it. I mean, to get all, it's a bit depressing, but, you know, it's serious as well. To look at the suicide rates, in general, young men are at a higher risk, but in the performing arts, it's elevated by 80% for women.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's actually quite extreme. That,
And
isn't it?
20% for men as well. So it's a real issue, you know, and there's a lot of around that about body image, and age, I suppose, comes into that as well.
Yeah.
But you really feel like you've not had that much impact, I suppose, experience of it being a negative thing.
I mean, a lot of my work
No, it's great, you know.
has been more. I've created a lot of my work, and it's not. Maybe if I
You've never
was
really had other people to answer to, or
No.
not take you seriously, or something like that. You just kind of.
I think I've been really lucky because I have heard like my female friends saying about, you know, the hashtag Me Too movement and things that they've experienced, just minor things that are just wrong, and I do think it's changing, but I'm trying to think what my work's been a bit more. How would I put it? A bit more rustic, not necessarily the sort of on the main stage in the big theatres. I've tended to work with groups and produced work, or done promenade type theatre. Last thing I was working at Theatre Clwyd, I was working with young people about doing county lines and looking how we can help them see the signs of if they're being. I should probably say what county lines is for people who might not know what it
go
is.
for it.
So county lines is basically drug dealers getting kids to sell their drugs for them, and getting kids from like the countryside, especially North Wales, as it is a big target, and getting them to do all the drug dealing for them. They're being groomed, they're being exploited, and a lot of the time kids don't necessarily realise they have been.
No, they're quite naive to it.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And so we were working on a project with that, and we were writing a piece and performing it, and interviewing different people that had been through that, through the county lines, who got caught up in it. So my work's been a bit more, I don't really know how to word it, more like that, not so image-based.
Yeah.
And at times I've kind of thought, oh gosh, I'd love to have that role in that film where I'm all pretty, and but actually I look back and I think, no, I've probably done really much more interesting
it's
work.
Probably just not really your vibe. It's not your
I think sometimes I'd like to pretend it
things
was.
that are a little bit more individual, a little bit different to that kind of thing.
It sounds more theatre and education in that sense, but also it sounds like you very much have a presence as well on theatre and TV, and it's just kind of you've balanced it in a way that it hasn't impacted you maybe as much as...
I don't tend to get those roles. I never audition for those roles. Yeah. But body image does bother me. Absolutely. Like, I'm always like, oh gosh, I need to watch my weight. And anyone who knows me will know I go on about my big legs. I've got chunky legs. And I'm always like, I need to lose weight on my chunky legs. And my friends have said, Ed, just own it. Just get over it. You've got chunky legs, you know, and I should. But I do think you see things on the likes of Netflix, and not to single them out, but these very much polished shows, and they are perfect. But you have to think realistically. You just have
There's no such thing as perfect.
There is not.
And it's all in the eye of the beholder as well.
Yeah, but there's Instagram as well. And
absolutely.
There's been a thing where plastic surgeons have said that they've had people say, I want to look how I look on my Instagram filter.
Oh my
God. That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
That makes me feel sad.
And you see these filters, you're like, that you do not look like a person.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some filters that you put on and you're like, yeah, that looks really great, but I wouldn't want to look like that constantly, because it's not realistic.
But for me, I suppose it's the same as, I mean, I have experience in the theatre, and we, many years ago we did a project around sexuality and, sexuality for men and women, and we looked at the idea of, the whole porn industry. And I feel like that's the same thing, in the sense that we look at that, or people look at that and then expect it to be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually it isn't. It's the same with that kind of the Instagram thing. You look at something, you expect someone to be a certain way, but it isn't, and everybody's different.
It's the same with magazines and stuff like that. Models always and being highly photoshopped and edited and stuff like that, and
that's within the media, isn't it? So do you feel
common?
Do you feel like, what do you think? Do you think that is worse for having been in the performing arts or in the arts in general? Do you think that's...
Yeah, like during lockdown, I kind of realised I didn't care how I looked. And then I had an audition. I had to go down to London in August. And I was like, oh my God, look at my eyebrows. Look at my hair. And I suddenly realised, look at that line, look at this. And I thought, wow, I never knew I thought like that. But yeah. And I think if you're on TV a lot, you do.
Yeah.
But there's a responsibility there, I think, writers, and I write a bit myself, and I've got ideas with different projects of not writing those sorts of characters, but writing real people, real life people. And there's been a thing where I know they've talked about, like, Shakespeare and putting females in male roles, which is great, and I've played male roles in Shakespeare. But also there's responsibility to write new stuff with actual female storylines.
A different character.
With being inclusive as well to all the different types of minorities and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It drives me mad that they're not writing those stories, those new stories. They're rehashing old stories where you're like, well, what I'm more interested, like, as you say, like minorities, like what's that story? And I think there's there should be a real push for writers to be looking for a new story and not falling back. Yeah. I'm thinking of one right now I can think of, but I won't say it. But they've remade something, and they're always remaking something because I think, I suppose they know it's going to sell. Yeah, and
they can capitalise on it, can't they?
But I'm just like, where's that new story?
You're taking a huge risk with a new story, aren't you? It's like, is it going to land? Are they going to take that well? Yeah, kind of thing. So
yeah, that's true, and always putting a sort of a name in and stuff. But I just remembered, sorry, tangent. Going back to your porn thing.
Yeah.
What is it? It's WWE, isn't it? Wrestling now. It used to be WWF when I was a young one.
Yeah, it was WWE.
So I always say, and I thought if I have kids, I'll say to them, porn is like wrestling, WWE. It might look good, but it's not the real thing. Because I think I think that's what we need to like say to young people that are learning about sex. Sometimes is it's not real. It's there to,
it's for entertainment.
Yeah.
And men and women don't look like this and this. They actually can look different.
Yeah.
They always seem to have the same type of body shape, the same type of maintenance, let's say.
Yeah.
And it's just not realistic for
Why do we do that to ourselves? So we're all a bit miserable thinking, I don't look like that. It's just...
I think you hit on personally. I think you hit on something before with the whole they can sell that, they can capitalize on that. But that's, it's something to talk about maybe in the future. But yeah, we could listen to you talk about that all day. So tell us about your performance that you shared with us today.
Oh, so I was thinking, oh my gosh, because I've kind of not really done any performing work or anything. I've totally taken myself out of the performing arts world during COVID. Because I kind of had to for work. So I was like, oh my gosh, what do I have? I feel really rusty. And I thought, I could use the monologue I wrote for County Lines. I was working for Theatre Clwyd. It's a bit grim, but I wrote it. We wrote like a whole play, and then I just wrote this little section. I was working with people that have been through it and describing things. And it is a bit grim, but it was like the reality, because I was playing someone that grooms them. From Liverpool.
Wow. Was that a difficult part to play? Did it really get to you sometimes?
Yeah, it did actually. And I was surprised. I was really surprised. It did get to me.
Can you usually disconnect quite well from parts like that, or do you feel like it impacts you quite heavily when you get into those really deep kind of characters?
It does. It does impact me. It makes it was sort of taking over my life, and I was noticing things. I was seeing things going on in my street, like drug dealing, and it just opens your eyes up to different things. But it does, and I had to have a word with myself and watch like Disney or something.
Just try and disconnect a little bit. Yeah.
Because especially because the lad I was playing opposite, who I was grooming, was so good and so like. It was so realistic.
Just made it really real.
Yeah, and I'd see his little innocent face, and I'm just this horrible person manipulating him. But they exist. They're out there.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be realistic as well, and it's something that you're obviously really interested in as well, and something that you really want to try and change, which is important.
Yeah, I'm quite sort of passionate about working with young people, and I think that's where the change is going to be. And we talk about like getting more like ethnic minorities into performing arts and stuff. And I think that's where we need it to happen, going into schools, working with young people.
Young people of the future.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And working with them and writers and saying to them, and that's part of what we're doing the Beetle next year. I'm going into schools around Liverpool and saying this is how you take from page to stage, and explaining the process to them, how you go about getting funding, how you go about adapting it, and the job roles.
That's amazing.
It's quite a lengthy
process. Thank you. I'm excited. We're starting in January, and it's opening them up, because I didn't really know that much about performing arts and the job roles that were involved with it. And I think if I can sort of pass on my knowledge and be like, look at me, if I can do it, you guys can do it.
Well, let's take a look at your performance. So let's cut to that now.
Okay. Cheer up, lads. It's not that bad. You're a kid, they can't touch you. What's the worst that can happen, eh? They send you to one of them youth places, you're playing your Xbox for 2 weeks and you're back home. Back home to your ma. Your poor ma, eh? Working all them long hours at the co-op. I think of her, Especially when she works a late shift and she has to walk home in the dark on her own. I really do think of her. Because I would hate her to get cut. Because it does happen, doesn't it? Got to be so careful these days. You never know who's around the corner. And I really would hate her to get cut. She wouldn't know what was happening at first. She'd feel a thud. Probably get knocked down to the ground. And then the pain comes. A sharp, cold pain. Maybe panic, then calm. And then you feel weak, and that's the blood draining from your body. And you're yelling and scratching inside, but there's nothing you can do. and then you feel warm, and everything becomes a blur, and you feel like you're swimming, dreaming, drowning. Is that what you want, lad? Is that what you need? Keep your gob shut, lads, and you'll be all right.
So, tell us one thing that you'd say would be a massive inspiration to your acting, or even the writing side of things as well.
Because you mentioned this, and I had to think about it, and I couldn't tell you one single thing, and I was like, why? And then I thought, it's because a lot of things inspire me. So for acting wise, if I watch a brilliant film, I'd be like, oh my word, I just want to be in something like that project. I mean, what did I see recently? The Two Popes. That was good.
I've not seen that. I've heard it's fantastic though.
Yeah, it's slow, but it's good. The Changeling, actually, I saw that. With an actress in that I can't remember her name. She's really, really famous. It'll come back to me.
But just on the tip of your tongue.
It's based on a true story, so a lot of stuff it's based on a true story. Nature, getting out, changing. But I think actually it's probably people.
Yeah.
And if I go and see a friend or and I get inspired by them, and I'll see how they live, how they react to things. The job I'm doing at the moment, my COVID job, that is full of so many amazing characters. I'm working in Toxic, and they are just, oh my word, it's like writing material heaven. And I find them quite inspiring. So I think, I know, sorry, I should have like one sort of answer, but I think it's probably people. There's a lot of people that inspire me.
I mean, you are an actor and a producer and a writer. I mean, that doesn't shock me, you know,
to
be an observer, a people watcher, and that kind of thing, and seeing how people are. And I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
Well, I thought, like, when I was here, I'm surprised how much I'm talking, to be honest, because I'm not used to talking so much like this. I'm used to listening to people and watching people. So when I was like, oh my gosh, they're interviewing me. But apparently I've got a lot to say, it seems.
We're glad you've got a lot to say. It's been fascinating to hear you.
Just verbal diarrhea.
No.
Just but yeah, so probably people, and there's a lot of women in the performing arts industry in Liverpool. Do you want me to mention them by name?
Please do, go for
course,
it.
I'll have to message them after this. So Becky Brooks, and she runs DBY. It's an interactive theatre company. They do a lot of murder mysteries.
I love murder mysteries.
Honestly, it's so good. I had never done one before. Then I started working for her, and we go on cruise ships doing them.
Amazing.
And
wow, I want to do that.
It's honestly the best job ever. It's like not a job. And she's really inspiring because she's always creating, and I've worked when jobs have been quite stressful, and she's always calm, always positive, always looking for the bright. And I think, gosh, she's really inspiring that way.
Super chill vibes, zen.
Yeah, and very happy, very upbeat, and always got great ideas. And then there's Jess Buxton, who runs a children's theatre company in Liverpool called Bookworm Players, and she's constantly writing, creating, getting into new spaces, and I find her really inspiring as well. There's loads of people I could talk about, actually.
Please share them on our We Want Women page, because we're always really happy to hear about projects and things that are going on run by women. That's obviously what we're about, so please share them.
Paperwork Theatre as well, if you come across them. Two women, they're great. And
fantastic.
They'll be so like Jess and Becky, they'd be great to interview for this, actually.
Yeah.
They'd have a lot to say.
We'll check them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We're always looking for new people to get involved with us and stuff like this, the interviews, get them out there. And
Yeah. I'll pass it on to them.
So just quickly before we finish today, so it's been absolutely amazing to have you on.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. I'm gonna just give you 3 words. So this is gonna be hard for you, right?
Oh, here
3
we go.
words, okay? How has COVID been for you in 3 words?
Tough, changing, inspiring.
Cool.
That's quite positive, actually. A lot of people have found it a little bit more on the negative side. But
I think I needed time out.
tough isn't always necessarily a bad thing.
No. Because I suppose you've got to wrap up, haven't you? But
Yeah.
I've had to get another job as a support worker during this whole time, so I've totally taken myself out of the game, And in a way, it's been quite refreshing for me. Now I'm ready. Now I'm done. I want to get back. But it's, it hasn't been easy, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad you feel refreshed.
Yes, and let's hope that the Beetle makes it next year. That
fingers
sounds
crossed.
so exciting. We'll look out for that.
Yeah, you'll have to
thank
let us
you.
know when it is. We'll come and see.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Thank you.
you so much, Edwina, for being here today. It's been great to see you and to hear you.
Oh, cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. So if you want to check out any more stuff on our page, we've got everything in the podcast and we've got everything coming up on our page. Please go to www.wewantwomen.co.uk. And if you want to check out Edwina as well, she's on Facebook, she's on Instagram as well. And we'll leave the link so you can find her. Thank you very much for watching today. It's been really great to be with you and we'll see you soon.